Good afternoon. I'm Steele Marcoux, editor of Veranda, and I am so excited to be back with you this afternoon for Discover ADAC. This afternoon, I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to share with you a first look at 3 amazing spaces from this year's first ever Kips Bay Decorator Show House in Dallas. As many of you may know, the show house raises important funds for both the Kips Bay Boys and Girls Club in New York, as well as 2 local Dallas organizations via ticket sales. Of course, visiting the show house this year is going to look a little different from most years, but if you'd like to get information on how to do so, either in person or virtually, please visit kipsbaydecoratorshowhouse.org. And for a complete first look at the entire house, please visit veranda.com. I'm incredibly honored to have with me today 3 amazing designers from the show house, each of whom have created the most unbelievable spaces. Your minds are going to be blown. But before I introduce them, I'd like to thank our host, ADAC, as well as our sponsor, The Shade Store. The Shade Store has handcrafted the finest shades and drapery for more than 70 years. They believe that designing custom window treatments should be an effortless experience, therefore offering outstanding services to customers and trade members every step of the way, from inspiration to installation. Please take a moment to view this video from our partner, The Shade Store.
So in 1946, our grandfather started in the industry by selling fabric off the roll. That company started in Mount Vernon, New York. My father joined the business and evolved that into custom window treatments, upholstery. The business was around one thing, and that was primarily service. Today, that's absolutely the foundation of how we run our business. We are the go-to source for custom window treatments.
They take all the guesswork out of everything. They come, they measure, they install. They've made every part of my job easier, and my projects go smoothly, leading to happy clients. Working with the Shade Store, it makes me look good, it makes my job easier, and ultimately it makes my clients happy, so it's a win-win.
Thanks for that message from the Shade Store. And now I am pleased to introduce my 3 esteemed design panelists today, starting with Michelle Nussbaumer. Michelle is a Dallas-based designer and owner of the fabulous shop Salon AC, and she brings a layered approach and global aesthetic to every project she does, and you're definitely going to see that on display today. She's done many collaborations over the years, including working with Clarence House on a fabulous fabric and trim collection that launched earlier this year. Next, I'd like to introduce Jan Showers, another Dallas-based designer and co-chair of this year's show house. Not only is Jan one of the most accomplished and well-known designers in the country, she owns a beautiful showroom in the Dallas Design District, has her own furniture line with Kravet, and is the author of 3 books, including Glamorous Living, which launches next week.
Yes, thank you.
And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Mark Sykes, an LA-based designer with roots in the South, known for his uplifting, colorful, and layered twist on traditional style. No stranger to the Kips Bay franchise, Mark has designed several spaces for Kips Bay, New York. He also has several collaborations in the works, including a furniture line with Chaddock, fabric with Schumacher, and some new things that we'll see today. And finally, last but not least, he also has a new book out, More Beautiful. Thank you all for joining me today to reveal your show house spaces. We're so excited to have you. I've asked each designer here today to share a little bit about his or her vision for his room, as well as a kind of an inside behind the scenes look at the process for how the room came together, followed by some extremely special details from each space, and then the reveal. So we're gonna walk through each space, but before we do that, I wanna let you all know that if you have questions, we're hoping to have time to take questions from the audience. You can submit them via the Q&A function on Zoom, and we will try to save a little time to answer your questions. So without further ado, let's take a look at Michelle's house. I mean, Michelle's room. Michelle, what was your vision for your space?
So really still, because I think maybe with COVID, I just was feeling super wanderlustful. So I wanted to really create, I know. So I really wanted to create a transportive space where people would come into this room and feel like, you know, maybe they did go on some sort of mini vacation. So it's called the Turkish Rider's Lair, or better known as the Magic Carpet Ride.
And did you start with this amazing illustration?
So, you know, I really started with my fabric and wallpaper lines, which also are based on Wanderlust, which is also the name of my book. And so, I mean, that's always in the back of my mind when I'm creating. And this wallpaper line was taken from tiles that I had taken pictures of when I was in Egypt last year. So I had been wanting to do something like this, and I just thought this might be the perfect location and time to sort of debut it. And so the whole room is really based on, my mother lived for a long time in Bahrain. So the whole room is really based on my travels through the Middle East and Turkey, where really East meets West, which is what I love so much about Turkey, because it's very much sort of Venetian, but also French, and then also where the Middle East begins, and the Asia really. So incredible. I just love the whole combination. And that's kind of what this room is.
I mean, how special to be sort of whisked away to a dreamy, exotic land when we've all been stuck at home for so long.
Well, I wish you were here because it smells so delicious. There's a candle called Odalisque, and we have Turkish music playing and Arabic chanting. And so it's very transportive and enveloping. You also the room is a little bit enfilade, where there's a little vestibule that I've tinted. So you walk into this space and you do feel like you're somewhere else. And that's what I with, by the way, right there.
Let's have a look at this is the before shot. So can you kind of, it's a blank slate, but can you tell me what you were kind of working up against?
So I was a little disappointed in the room, to be quite honest. I thought, wow, this is really small, no architectural detail. What am I going to do here? Which I find that in design, when you have confines to work within, it makes one more creative. So in a way, this room really kind of worked for me in such a great way that way. And you can't see, but to the right of this picture is just a closet that really had no function. And there's another closet. So I didn't really think that this room needed two closets. So I knocked the wall out and created this mudaher, or arch, right there. You can see my contractor working on it. And then across from it is the daybed that I made. So that motif is replicated, you know, twice in the room, and it just looks kind of fun and whimsical.
That's really beautiful. I love how you echoed that same shape on either end of the room. That's really amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, we really tried to do that and created that daybed with the Clarence House textiles. And there's great window treatments that are very sort of, I guess they're kind of a Venetian idea, but also kind of Arabic. So I was really happy with everything the way it turned out. It was just great. And the room in the beginning, really, like I said, I was so disappointed in it and couldn't figure out how am I going to fix this. And it just turned into the perfect storm. I'm so happy with it.
I love it. So there are some of those, some shots of those window treatments like you referenced. They're really
right. So yeah. And so there's that pretty tulip silk shade coming between the draperies with my trim, and all of the fabric is, of course, as I said, my new line. And, you know, we launched in Paris, so I'm so happy that when everything sort of shut down, we had the opportunity to show this here at Kips Bay, which has been great. And the Shade Store did those great. I don't know if you can see the detail on the cornice, but they just did such a great job. And then
I was going to ask you about the cornice. I mean, how did you do that? Did you draw that? Or?
So I drew that out, and it's a typical motif that's called mudaher, which is
beautiful.
It's kind of a Spanish, Venetian. It's seen throughout history, really. I mean, I think in cornices, it's just a really pretty one that I think feels kind of in some kind of way exotic. And then you can see the what I was talking about, the vestibule, which is covered in the fez fabric. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
walk into there, and that begins your moment into feeling in a different place, I think.
Like a
So,
little transition space.
yes, and it's really quiet. I don't know, we all have the doors off the room, so you're all together, but somehow that just muffles the sound. So once you get in here, it's very quiet and you feel like you're not here anymore. You don't hear everything beyond the room. So it creates sort of a cushion of soft quietness there.
That's a really good idea.
It was really pretty. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That looks like where I'd like to be right now, but what's happening here?
Show houses are so great, and Mark and Jan can talk about this, is that we usually make so many new friends and meet so many new vendors and partners. And so it's been sort of sad because we've really been social distancing and coming in at different times and didn't have exactly that show house experience. However, I have to say that tequila bar has gotten well used. So I don't know if anyone's been up here sampling the tequila. But behind that is my fabric with Clarence House. And then there's a little group of 19th century Orientalist paintings.
I love those
A
paintings.
great little bar moment. And underneath are sort of some refrigerator drawers. And so, yeah, that's in that closet that I ripped out and turned into a book.
Here are a couple of additional details. I love your collection of blue and white over here. What's happening here?
Thank you. So Chinese urns, 19th century, and then 19th century Moroccan pottery there. In front of a David Sutherland mirror, which is an antique Carl Springer porcupine mirror. So,
so beautiful.
Found that David Sutherland, I really love it. And I created the consoles underneath the two tables. Those are custom. And then just since we're here, that shot is not actually in the room now, but I decided while I was shooting myself to go ahead and set up, some different kind of moments on this tea tray. And so that was one. So that's not actually in the room, but I'm glad that we sent it to you.
The china is really incredible. It looks like it was meant to be in that room.
It's Bohemian china. Yeah. So it's old and fun.
And the glassware too.
Thank you.
Okay.
A Venetian napkin. Yeah.
And
So back to the shade store here, you can see the trim that we did. That's my Clarence House trim. And they're pretty, right? And then there's sort of, what the wallpaper has all these different moments of panels. So that's one that's right under the window. And it actually says in Arabic, love, peace, art, success.
Who could want anything more?
I know, so it's kind of lovely. And then to the right, again, a detail of the bathroom draperies, curtains, which I really turned out great. They also have, you can't see in this picture, but they have a great cornice on those too. And then that's my art line with Wendover Art Group. And this art is actually, it was kind of fun because these are all travel photos I've taken over the last 20 years. And then we did renderings of all of those. And I think those two are in, one is in Egypt and I think one is in Syria from years and years ago.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Okay, and here you have both ends of the room.
Right, so you can see that arch. And strangely, the proportion on it is sort of similar when you're in the room. And then you see the different areas of the wallpaper insets and the tiles, sort of the way it's supposed to be. And there's just a lot of trim pieces in this line that make it really fun. You can kind of make it your own.
Michelle, what's on the ceiling too? The ceiling, I think.
So that is a seagrass.
Oh, I love that.
It looks really great when you see it in person. I don't know if it really translates here, but
no, you can see there's texture.
Oh, good. Thank you. So yeah, so it actually kind of looks like a large room here, but it's really quite small. But I feel like kind of turned into a little bit of a jewel box.
It's such a jewel box of a space. I can't wait to see it in person.
Thank you so much for coming to visit.
Okay, let's see. Next, we have Jan's space. Jan has, hold on, this incredible study. Jan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your vision?
Yes, this rendering was done by my associate, Elena Fagan. I think she did a wonderful job. And we sort of worked on it together. But anyway, I had a vision of Jackie Kennedy Onassis having this ladies' study that was just where she could write notes and write letters, because she was famous for doing both, actually. And she could come in and she could write, she could read, she could edit, because she was an editor. And I just envisioned her in this room. And I also sort of envisioned myself, actually. And I still sort of do.
I love it.
Anyway, and so I did the color, the Benjamin Moore color. Benjamin Moore is one of our wonderful sponsors. And I love this color. I had it in my dining room, and I used it. It's on the cover of my book in one of my favorite clients' houses. And it's called Wyeth Blue, as in Wyeth.
Such a great color.
A great color. And I was so fortunate. I had Luis Gloria, who used to be in New York. In fact, he did lots of Kips Bay show houses in New York. And so he came in and very graciously did a beautiful job. It's really gorgeous. Everybody who comes in just thinks it's stunning, and it is. And then the Shade Store did the work on the drapery, and I love the fabric. Yeah, that's the before. You want to show the before?
Sure. Yeah. The before, I think, I mean, there's in all three of your spaces, there's a dramatic transformation, but with this paneling here, it's pretty incredible.
Paneling was great. And I was very fortunate with the owner, because I didn't want to have to take it back to wood. So the owner immediately, I was able to send her an image of the front of my book. And she, within 30 minutes, told Nazira, yes, Jan can paint it that color, because I want to leave it that color. So anyway, that worked out great. The floors are beautiful. We had those waxed and polished. And then we went and did the paint. We go back to the other, that's
Is this an in process from the
process?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. And they, of course, had to do a base, and they did all kinds of, it took, I want to say it took 2.5 weeks.
Well, and I wanted to mention this when Michelle was talking too, but you all were on such a compressed time frame here.
Actually, more compressed than New York is normally. New York, they don't have that long either. I mean, it's usually March and April. That's pretty much. And we got our rooms the beginning of July, and so we had to have everything done by September.
The difference is we had to book everything, sort of. So we had to book coming here at all social distance.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
COVID was a big challenge, and that's why this is a real accomplishment for Kips Bay and for Dallas and for the design community here and for all the designers who are in the house. I have to get that little plug in, because it really is.
Absolutely.
But you can see that this is a very small room. I'm like Michelle, I had a small room to work with, so everything had to be scaled correctly. And that's so important. Michelle's room is amazing. I was up there Saturday, looks fabulous. And you can take any space if you're a good designer and do wonders with it. Just wonders.
I love your color of your room, Jan. I have people calling me already looking at your Instagram saying, do you know what color she used? People are
feeling a lot of Wyeth Blue, because I'm getting the same thing.
I think Wyeth Blue is going to sell out.
I love it.
I think so. And so anyway, Lodi Garden is charming. I want to mention that fabric again on the drapery, because the characters in it are so funny and whimsical, and they're all doing very odd things. And
I love it.
the colors are fabulous. And when I saw it when it first came out, Scott Kravitz showed it to me. There you can see it in the picture. He showed it to me, and you really can't see how fun it is. So when people come in, I want them to feel free to walk over and really look at it. And I love that it introduces a lot of color, because I decided to use one of my designs for Kyle Bunting. I don't know if we have an image. Yeah, you can barely see it in the image on the left. This is my rug called Glamorous.
Oh, I love that rug so much.
I do too. And he does such beautiful work. And I played around with the idea of a Persian style rug or a Persian rug. And I just kept coming back to this. I felt like the room needed it. And so that's what we ended up with. And then we have a mix in here of so many different things that are beautifully done and donated by people from all over the place, from Miami, from New York, from where else? I can't even remember now. Dallas. I wanted to use a lot of Dallas people. The desk you're seeing there on the left is Carl Springer, and that's from Miami, from a company called an antique store called Modern Epic. He was so nice to work with. I'd never met him before in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Jean Lou, who is she was a vice chair of Kips Bay. I said, oh, I've got to find a Carl Springer desk. This room has to have one. I want to go. And in 10 minutes, she sends me a link, and I call this guy up. He didn't know me from Adam, and he was like, you can have whatever you want. I was like,
I love it.
Great.
I love it.
That was sort of the way everybody was. It was really fun. And those cigarette lighters, I don't smoke. I wish I did sometimes, but I don't smoke. And I did until I was like 30, I think. I was a minor smoker, but more for else, sort of, it was just so glamorous then. I love cigarette lighters.
But the lighters are even more glamorous. Jan, I just read this page in your book earlier this afternoon, and I loved it.
Oh yeah, I have a collection of them of my own, and so I just started looking for them for here because I didn't want to bring my own here. I brought a lot of things in my own, but not these. And so I found all of these in like 2 days. So that was
amazing.
And there's lots of detail in the room. Erin Lauder donated all the things you see on the desk, except for the frames. I have some Gucci frames on there. I've got all the men in my life on the desk.
I love it.
My 2 grandsons and my husband.
I love
it. Everything you see in the bookcases came straight out of my bookcases. So that made that easy. A lot of bookcases to fill up. And then what else do I want to show? Are there any other images?
And then, well, this is actually, there's one detail shot that we didn't talk about that I think is worth talking about. These trims are amazing.
Okay, well, this is all Samuel and Sons. And
beautiful.
Then the velvet is Cravat Couture, and it's gorgeous. And I'm sitting on it, and it feels heavenly. It just feels amazing. Anyway, this sofa, what happened is I was in Paris the first 10 days, if you can believe it, of March. I was on a plane coming home on the 11th, came home a week early. I was on a buying trip because probably of what was happening on March 11th. And so one of the things I bought was this sofa, and it was in perfect condition. This is not the sofa. We had to copy the sofa. And we did, and we just, my work firm did such a great job on this. They did an amazing job, and we put very similar trim on it, and so that's where that came from.
It's absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And then if you go back to the room,
and that's the final.
No, there's one of the rooms. See, yeah. I would love to talk about the chandelier. The chandelier, the Nick Brock. And it's the most valuable piece in the room, and it's very, very valuable. And I fell in love with it. You can't see the top of it, so you'll have to come to the house. You'll have to,
If you can kind of see the top in this vertical image here, but.
Oh yeah, there you can. I see now.
Beautiful.